Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Built with Metal podcast. My name is Melanie Kowal. I am the executive publisher of Metal Construction News and Metal Architecture. And on today's show, my guest is J.R. Lake, Business Development Manager at Hypersteel Cold Formed Buildings, a Cornerstone Building brand. With nearly 20 years in the industry, JR has worked across a wide range of specialties, including waterproofing and concrete repair, windows and doors, mass timber, and now steel. So, welcome to the show, JR.
Thanks for having me today, Melanie.
You're welcome. I often like to dive in with my guests by having them, just give us a quick intro about you and your background. How did you get into the construction industry? And what drew you to metal construction?
Yeah, funny you say that. Yeah, with that background, I've jumped a couple different products in the building industry. Like you said, it's waterproofing. I started my career out in windows and doors. Worked on a door line, hands-on with vinyl windows, to where I had the opportunity to work with waterproofing, sealants, concrete repair, where I spent a lot of time in wastewater treatment plants, parking garages, and calling on structural engineers. And then from there, a niche into mass timber, and then got the opportunity to come over to Cornerstone and put the touch on steel.
And so, for listeners and viewers who aren't familiar specifically with Hypersteel, can you give us sort of a quick overview of what it is, what makes it unique?
Yeah, like anything, I like to say we manufacture rectangles. We manufacture products. So what Hypersteel is, it's our brand name go to market for a cold form building. And what this is, if you're not familiar with this building style, it's utilizing 12 gauge, 14 gauge steel, so a light gauge steel than your traditional metal buildings to be able to erect your next project.
And so, I mean, I think most of the people tuning in today are probably familiar with Cornerstone Building Brands overall. Like, what do you think inspired them to develop Hypersteel? Like, were there challenges sort of in the metal building space that they were trying to address?
Yeah, first, with any product going to market, you want to bring value to the customers and then meet a high customer expectation on quality. And Cornerstone delivers that. If you're looking at customer experience, you want to make that sales process easy, exciting, and helpful for that customer. And then make sure you have that feedback loop to go back and learn and grow that product better. Then, secondly, you want to look at speed of production, ease of installation, and for building material product. And in this, the speed of production is through automation of a light gauge components being produced at one of our 40 manufacturing facilities nationwide. And then when your building arrives on site, it's all light gauge steel. So that means less time, equipment, manpower to construct your next project.
I didn't realize there were 40 facilities across the country.
Yeah, it's the fun part of being, having such a wide nationwide network for our customers.
So let's just shift gears for a second and talk a little bit about industry trends, because I know that's something that, when folks tune in, they're always interested to know what's happening with the metal industry. And it's been a very interesting year. I think it's safe to say. How do you see the metal industry evolving today? Like, are we seeing shifts in materials or design trends or even the way things are constructed?
I think the last 4 years, 5 years since I've been at Cornerstone, it's been a fun ride. It's been ups and downs. It's been reacting to costs. So it's being able to be adaptive to what is thrown at you, whether that's supply chain challenges, put into your contracts, being able to be a little more flexible. And then, but at the end of the day, it still just comes down to communication, content, customer experience, being able to have that open communication with your customers, and then just saying and having a clear expectation of what you're going to do and say what you're going to do and follow up with that.
And as far as, opportunities, like where are you seeing some of the biggest opportunities or even, on the opposite side, what are some of the pain points right now for builders, contractors, and owners?
I like to think it's we're seeing that Amazon effect. It's setting the right expectation up front, communication with our customers. It's everyone wants it yesterday, everyone wants it now, and being able to deliver on that is a challenge with a building material product. It's having the right inventory on the shelves, being able to have the right people in the factory, the right programming for the equipment to be able to push out the right product, get it on a truck, and get it to the job site.
Yeah, and inventory is something that we keep hearing about over and over. What's the state of the inventory right now? And this has been a very interesting year, I think, for that too. Do you think there's emerging technologies or certain practices in cold form steel construction that are maybe reshaping the market?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the power of hypersteel and cold form buildings. We're it's blending technology with the building materials. So automation of manufacturing for a light gauge steel. And on the technology front, we partner with ACT, who's a leading software company that helps a customer design, order, get engineered plans all within 10 minutes and gets that order to us, which then goes down the automated line and out to a job site all in about 4 weeks for your next project. And with that, that's one of the fastest building material um, buildings out there on the market today.
So it's being expedited, really, is what's going on here.
Yeah,
So on the automation side, I mean, can you expand on that a little bit? What's being automated with Hypersteel?
yeah. So it's a couple fronts. So on the front end of a user's experience, it's the technology. It's the ability partnering with a leading software provider, which is ACT. Their software user interface allows someone to fully design, quote, engineer, get the stamp plans, construction package all into their email inbox, whether it's 5 minutes or up to 3 days, depending on the complexity of the project. And then all that you can do that all within 10 minutes. And then once that order hits our manufacturing floor and gets ordered, it's going down machinery that it's not getting welded. It's not a human touch point going down like a complex metal building would be. It's going down a automated machine to then punch that steel, then to spit out and get lifted and put on someone's truck.
That's really interesting, and I know automation is very, very important to builders and manufacturers again because it's expediting that entire process. So let's talk about installation for a minute. I know we touched on that at the beginning of the show. From my research, I see one of the key selling points of Hypersteel is the installation speed. So how does that streamline construction maybe compared to some other systems out there?
Yeah, it's comparing the materials in the traditional metal building arena. It's heavy gauge steel. It's welding. It's heavy equipment, cranes, lifts to lift that piece of equipment in. And you may have a crew. You may have 3 to 5 guys just for one connection point on that building to get the bolt in place, weld in place, and you have your foreman down the ground to make sure everyone's safe because safety is important. Um, Utilizing a light gauge steel, uh, it's a kit is what this is. Your kit arrives to job site, everything's punched, you can drop the bolt into that connection point and start raising the roof on your building pretty fast. And then Melody, I do kind of relate it. People joke around that this is kind of a Lego kit. There's more to it, but it is kind of like an adult style Lego kit that you get to job site.
So with Lego, you're going to need crews to build it, right? So what are we talking about in terms of crews or training? What's required for these folks?
Yeah, it's usually a lighter gauge lift. You're not looking at a crane to have on job site. If you're doing just a simple storage unit in your backyard for your RV side by side lawnmower, it's a 30 by 50 building or a 30 by 40 building, whatever your needs are. There's design flexibility there, and so you're able to either have two men hold this piece you're erecting on the ground, and you're having two men hold these pieces placed, bolt it together, and then install it in different portals to be able to slowly build this building out.
So then this is available for smaller contractors too.
Yeah, it allows an in-way for smaller contractors to play in that steel market. And then also we do get a lot of end users as well. And just a cautionary note, like anything, you do not want to know what you're doing. I mean, I remind myself of the first time I drywalled it was really messy, and it ended up in being a lot of angry sanding at the end of the day.
But you learn as you go, right?
And you do learn. And so just that's the biggest thing, is to have some grace there.
And so what kinds of like building configurations are possible? Like workshops, storage, agriculture, what are we looking at?
Yeah, being newer in the building design space as a product is really fun to see. So a lot of times customers can either go from like a simple traditional metal building, and they bring it down to what we can do and see if we can build out. So yeah, your next project, if it's a barnuminium, like I said, a storage garage, a semi-commercial type building, like a county fire station as well, is really neat to see, because it takes only 10 minutes to plug your requirements into the program, and it and spits out the loads and codes based on your zip code and prices the project, so you can see if you can challenge the software or you have your next project built out of cold form building.
And are there customizations and add-ons?
Yeah, so with anything, you can do roll up doors, sectional doors, windows. It's really the design flexibility goes, kind of what dream it and you can build it. You can also add mezzanines or porches on this, lofts. So there's a lot of things to do, and we're constantly looking at the software on what we can go next steps with.
So I'd like to move on a little bit and talk about something that I seem to be covering almost in every episode that I've done this year, because it's just been such a big news story, is the weather, especially when it comes to metal construction. So let's talk a minute about performance and durability. How do hypersteel buildings perform in extreme weather conditions? Like, we've had heavy snow, we've had high winds, hurricanes, seismic zones. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like any building materials, I like to say address there are limits with those building materials. Whether that's extreme cold, when you're, in my experience of being concrete repair, sealants, coatings, you have extreme codes, and you have to either create a product or create a condition to install. The fun thing about steel is that there's a lot of design strengths of steel, so you can push the envelope the other direction. Whether that's in heavy snow load areas, seismic areas, you can make some changes on that building to be able to handle those extreme conditions. And then the steel is a trusted product out on the market, and so that's whether that's fire resistance, wind resistance, the ability to hold up in these snow areas. Now, going back to the limitations in these heavy snow areas, we do have limitations in those areas with the cold form building. You do need to add more steel parts and pieces to this building. And so sometimes it might not be the right fit for your area. But like I said, 10 minutes with the software, you can find out really quickly if it works for you.
And what feedback are you hearing right now from builders or owners that have been using the system?
Yeah, for cold form buildings, Hypersteel, it's like anything. The first time, that knowledge curve is the hardest part about this. It's new. Anytime you try something new, it's you got to get back up and try it again. And with that lack of experience and unknowns, customers need a high level of trust with us as a manufacturer. They're paying us $20,000, $100,000 for their next project. And so we need to make sure we stay on top of a white glove treatment. So everything from signing on to the software for the first time to walking them through that order process, and then helping them out when that building arrives to the job site to be able to clarify what all the parts and pieces are. And by doing that, you do get that customer return. You get that customer expectation that they do come back for that next project.
And so let's talk a little bit about the metal construction industry in general. I mean, you've been in construction for a while, and I think, interesting things have happened in 2025 and going into 2026. How do you see the market for metal buildings evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? I know it's kind of a tricky question, but I'm interested to see your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I may have mentioned, but steel's been around for over 100 years. It's a trusted product on the market, both from a engineering design standpoint to a owner designer looking at their next project. So it's definitely trusted and tried out there on the market. The other advantage, it does have unique advantages. When you looking at reducing embodied carbons, extending the lifestyle of a building, the recyclability of this, and then the performance, the resistance to fire and wind. There's just several key benefits there of steel over other building products, and the life cycle. To touch on that, it's over 40 years for a steel metal building. And then through maintenance or care plan or replacement of those parts and pieces, you can have your building last even longer than that.
And so it's a growing market, definitely, and
Yeah.
in the sustainability side too. Do you think there's regulatory or economic or even material trends that you think are going to influence the industry?
I think there's always something to point out if you look at the news every day, whether that's regulatory, economic, supply chain. And really, I go back to you have to be nimble, you have to be adaptive as challenges come up. I think when I first came on board, it was right during COVID, and you saw the pricing spike, the cost of steel, inventory requirements, trying to get the right product on the shelves. We had issues, and we were straightforward and trying to be honest with our customers when we did have those issues. And that speaks a large part to having those relationships with your customers, to be able to work through those challenges as they do arrive.
And for architects or contractors or developers that you think are just entering the space, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I've been doing this 15, 20 years. I think for me, start small, right? Like you're not going to go build the Egypt pyramids overnight. So start small. Have fun with it, communicate, deliver on what you say you're going to deliver and what you're going to do. And then look back and be able to take, learn what from your mistakes for the next step or leap ahead. From there, you'll have a great career in the steel building industry.
Well, that brings us just about to the end of this show. JR, after tuning in today, how would viewers or listeners get in touch with you if they wanted more information?
Yeah, we'll be distributing emails from a mailing list. On that email, first off, there'll be a link that you can sign up to have a 30-minute meeting with me to learn more about Hypersteel and our products, or I can walk you through the software. The other part, if you're just looking to capture the information today, go to www.hypersteel.com. Again, that's www.hypersteel.com. And that will take you, fill out a form. We would love to be in touch with you to have you learn more.
Well, thank you so much for being my guest today. This was really informative. This has been the Built with Metal podcast, available on the Metal Construction News website or where you listen to your favorite podcasts. Thanks again for joining us today, JR.
Thank you, Melanie.